Welcome to the Edge of NFT podcast with your hosts, Jeff Kelley, Eathan Janney, and Josh Kriger. We aim to bring you not only the top 1% of what's going on with NFTs today, but what will stand the test of time. We explore the nuts and bolts and the business side, but also the human element of how NFTs are changing the way we interact with the things that we love. This podcast is for the futurists and dreamers, the disruptors and creators, the fans and connectors, and the makers and doers that are pumped about this ecosystem and driving where it goes next.
Hey guys, we're back again at NYC NFT with Jeff Crane, the director, producer, and probably a lot of other hats for the movie NFT The Movie. What's going on, Jeff? Good to see you in real life.
Thanks, guys. So, does everybody know your names on this podcast?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, who's everybody? I don't know if every listener knows everyone. I don't even know these guys' names. What's your name over there?
I'm Jeff Kelley. What's up?
There we go.
Okay, cool.
So
I think
Jeff,
I've heard of you.
everybody's got to introduce each other.
That's it.
Okay.
Once
Oh,
more.
all right. So, I'm Eathan Janney, right? This is, you say your name.
Josh Kriger.
And Jeff Kelley.
Ethan, Jeff, and Josh.
That's it.
Names are important,
Yeah.
right? We got to get those right. So, yeah, welcome. Thanks for welcoming me here to the podcast, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Great to have you.
So Josh and I were in Puerto Rico. We had heard of NFT, but we hadn't interacted much. We met Major Tree Williams at this kind of business networking event, which is really cool. They have a lot of kind of fun and fresh
Crypto
stuff.
Monday?
It wasn't actually. I didn't get a chance to go to Crypto Monday, but there was just a general like, hey, mostly young entrepreneurs get together in San Juan.
Yeah.
It was Drew's event.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of the guys were
It's an
organizing.
entrepreneur.
We're doing some
Yeah.
putting together some co-working spaces, just trying to reinforce the economic development there. Really cool vibe. Really excited. People having huge visions, which is always exciting when people are willing to dream big. And then of course, mention the word dream. We met Major Dream, talking about dreaming
awesome.
big. And he was just so excited about the movie and wanted to do an interview with us. It set one up, but we got it set up really quick. We got to do it in a really awesome location and everything. But we hadn't really connected with you and met you. So maybe you could just tell us and also share for the listeners, like just a little about what your role is and like how you know Major and how everything pulls together.
Thank you. And we're going to dig up that interview because apparently we need to put that in the movie.
Let's go into the movie.
It's going to be I've been in blockchain for about 3.5 years. As most people do, since the dawn of man, people have gone to the temple, they've gone to the mountain, they've gone to Mecca. And 3.5 years ago, as funny as it is, I was reading a New York Times article a buddy of mine gave me. And he said, hey man, you want to go find this guy? And it was Brock Pierce standing in that window in Old San Juan, and he had just gotten to Puerto Rico and basically lifted the lid, even though Michael Turpin was there first, because he's the godfather and Brock is the big brother. And so what we did was we went on a one-way ticket to go find this guy. We didn't know where he was. Lo and behold, the next thing we know, we raised like 1.25 million in 3.5 weeks, not from Brock, not from his friends, but just being in the area. And we started a blockchain company called Glyph ID. That was about 3.5 years ago. And what had happened was, what you do, and I'll answer the question, but what you do when you build a brand is, because we talked about this a little bit before the show, you can't be the person. You have to build everybody else up so that when you're not there talking about it, when they're wearing the shirts and they're living the dream. And so what had happened was we went up to Brock and we said, hey brother, do you mind if we have a party in your monastery suites? Just a little party. 600 to 700 people showed up. And at that point, we realized, okay, you have to be the COI, the center of influence. You need to be able to help other people. So fast forward to February of this year, I was consulting for my friend Brian Christensen for Block Cities. He said, come on out to Puerto Rico, I'll pay for everything. And that's when I saw the FOMO of NFTs. The billionaires, the millionaires were all flying to like Dubai, and they were flying like, dude, what's going on? So every single entrepreneur in this room has done this. So what I did was, with this FOMO, I went to one place, GoDaddy, and I went to look for domain names, right?
I think you snagged some of the ones that Jeff was
Yeah.
Jeff did that game too.
It goes with the name, brother. I just did the nice for everybody. And so you're gonna love this, Jeff. So what I did was, I started my career in internet businesses, creditcardrates.com, homeclassifieds.com, like '96. So I looked up NFT classifieds, and it was freaking available. I couldn't believe it. But I got that thing at 1 in the morning. So I woke up at 8, and I was like, what in the H am I doing? I'm slower. I'm not as sharp. I don't have as much money as these guys. I don't want to compete with my friends. I want to go into a room and have fun. I don't want to have to keep to myself all this quote unquote beautiful ideas for my friends. So I immediately went to Facebook instead of going to an auction because all my friends were there. I said, hey guys, I'm selling NFTclassifieds.com. First opening bid is $2,500. Pedro Rivera, who runs Crypto Mondays for 5 minutes, says, hey bro, I'll buy it for $2,500. I'm like, no dude, I said that was the opening bid. But because it's Pedro, we ended up with $8,500. When that happened, I looked at the math. You guys mathematicians? It's a 6,500% increase, right? Just because those 3 letters became popular this year. Even though they were popular to the geeks a couple, 2-3 years ago, right? I'm like, this is ridiculous. I used another word. I was like cursing at myself. This is insane. I'm like, dude, I gotta do a movie. That was the inspiration because it was so, it was incredulous that could happen that quickly. So we funded our movie with $12.17.
Oh, yeah. That domain. That's
Yeah, from that domain.
Yeah.
So of course, I got NFT The Movie. We got the NFT The Movie. Of course, I trademarked a whole bunch of stuff. And one thing led to the next. And the reason that we're here, I will say this, is because people like Brittany Kaiser and Landon Reed and Ken Bozak, where I pick up the phone and I was in a stressful situation. I'm like, what do I do? And for example, with Brittany, do you guys know Brittany?
Of course.
You know Brittany.
Yeah.
She did the Great Hack and she did many other things. I was having problems with my first set of filmmakers because I'd never done film before. And I was having a meltdown and I called her and I said, should I do this movie? She's like, yeah, 10 million people know who I am. Absolutely do this movie. So I hung up the phone and I'm like, okay. And every step of the way, I would call somebody, and you know when you have that friend, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your brother or sister, maybe, where you can call them and you know that what they're telling you is from their heart and there's no ulterior motive. It's kind of transactional. I had so many people who were just so supportive. We started the documentary in May of this year and submitted it to Sundance in September. We have 40 interviews in the movie, of course we have to slip you guys in. And the movie is about humanity and technology. It's not about technology, it's about people, because people do not change, technology changes. So you could take this story, half of the people are proficient, the other half of people, they didn't know anything about NFTs until we spoke to them.
Yeah, I mean, we really look at Edge of NFT as the intersection of technology and culture. And the possibilities are limitless now relative to even a couple of years ago because of the adoption of NFTs. It's not even about the fact that this capability was there. It was about the fact that we as a society have decided to tap into this magic.
And it's changing things, right? Way beyond just what the world of collectibles is, right? Mainstream stuff you see in the media. People's lives are changing. People are making a living offering Axie Infinity. I think they say more people have an Axie Infinity wallet than have bank, right, over the Philippines.
That's amazing.
Game changing, Now, of course, where they're based, and many, many other projects just like that.
And in the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken, people are making $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 a month on NFT naming, and they're paying for their entire lifestyle, their bills, their everything, playing games.
We met a gentleman, or I did, about a month ago, that has over 400 scholars that he's funded to play that game, and they have scholars underneath them that they've funded to play that game. So we're talking about generational wealth creation happening overnight. And he started this program like less than 2 months ago.
Do you know what I love about that? So, do you guys have kids? Okay. How old? What's your?
I have a 3-year-old home.
So they're younger. So I have teenagers. And the other day I bought some Ken tokens. And I gave them 500,000 10 tokens each, my 3 kids, right? So 500,000. And it dawned on me, and I'm too poor with it, it dawned on me, like, I should have been doing this years ago. Like, I'm not giving them a skateboard, I'm gonna give them tokens. And what I love about the premise of that gentleman, and there's other companies that are doing grants, it's like they're orphans, and they're funding them, and they're taking care of them, and it's like their family, but they're not blood, and they may not even know them, they've never even met them, and they're supporting them. How beautiful is that? That's the way it's supposed to be. When you're walking on the street and somebody asks you for money, if you have a dollar bill in your hand, you give them a dollar bill, and you move on. You don't judge a person. That's my belief. You don't judge a person. And so I love the fact that and that's how come we're here, because people did the same thing. They said, hey Jeff, you don't know what you're doing, so I just guide you because we like your mission. Edge of NFT, you don't have all the answers, let's guide you.
Well, the proof is on the blockchain, right? If they're playing the game, that's trackable. If they're doing something with this opportunity that's been given to them, it's all transparent, it's all open. And I think that it creates an incentive structure that didn't exist before now. So speaking of sort of giving back and impact, what happens next? You do the movie. I guess you have a big premiere planned. Where do you go from there?
It's a good question. Sundance is very important in the lives of independent filmmakers, and they were pretty much the first ones. Bob Redford in our town there really took care of the artists, and so I love that culture. But regardless if we make it into Sundance, and I hope we do, we will have our own premiere during Sundance, and it will be a 2-day premiere. The first day we'll be running the movie late morning to early morning concurrently to the NFT ticket holders that will come to the actual premiere. And you guys are welcome to come, of course, as our guests. And then the second day, we're going to have 3 clinics running concurrently. How to make an NFT, how to market an NFT, and how to auction an NFT. Because it's not about teaching an artist how to paint and a musician how to play guitar. It's really just giving them some of those tools. And what I feel like is what you're not going to get with NFT The Movie is a start to finish, okay, now I'm ready to make an NFT. That's not what the movie's about. And I know that because it says NFT The Movie, everybody has their own impression of what that might be. Like the word love. Some people have different impressions of what love is, right? And so where do we go from here? What happens is in January we do the premiere, and we've not submitted to South by Southwest or any other festival. Because we're not, although it might say in my tag here, we're movie makers, we're not movie makers. What we'll be doing though, and here's the cool part, I don't know if Major said this. What happened was, before I started filming, I had talked to Ken Bozak, and I said, hey bro, would you like to be in the movie? He's like, absolutely. He goes, but let me give you some advice. Cut it up into pieces. Don't do your whole entire film, right, in one NFT. So we filmed the film ahead of time in pieces. Now in the blockchain community, if you were here in 2019 consensus, were any of you guys here at the 2019 consensus? If you remember, there were 8,000 people, and it was $2,000 a ticket, and everything, including the toilet paper, was wrapped in the logo, right? And you remember who was there. It's like a tribe. And then you go to like, oh, were you in Lisbon and were you there and stuff, right? So the way we did it is we filmed in 5 locations: Puerto Rico, Texas, Florida, California, and Utah. Each one of those is an NFT ticket. Each one of them is NFT The Movie California, NFT The Movie, blah, blah, blah. So what we have is a series per se, if you want to call it that. So next year, and we'll also be adding like maybe the full interview that you had with Major in the NFT for the NFT Puerto Rico, along with Crystal Rose Pierce, Michael Turpin, 6 or 7 other people who are locals to Puerto Rico that you don't know, that you will get to know. And now we can add stuff to the movie till next year, right? Because we submitted to Sundance and you can only put so much in. So that's the future of NFT The Movie.
It's fascinating. It'd be very cool for you guys to get into Sundance. It's really interesting also, just the rapid progression of NFT space, right? Because, you know, hearing about NFT The Movie, you probably yourself, even when you first started down the project, you're like, I think this should be in Sundance, but will the world be ready for it to be in Sundance by Sundance? And I'm finding myself fascinated that I feel that, yes, you know, I feel, given, you know, all of the major players that have moved into this space just over the past few months. I mean, we've talked to OneOf, you know, that's got Quincy Jones backing that project. You know, there's major filmmakers that are involved in this stuff, major sports companies, I mean, huge brands.
Tom Brady.
So yeah, this this idea that you guys be given the Sundance, I mean, it makes total sense.
I agree, and I'll tell you this, the reason I'm being somewhat humble in this situation and backing up a little is because I've never done a movie before, and so I didn't, although our co-director, let me back up 2 seconds. Our co-director, Danny Drysdale, did Vanilla Ice's documentary, and he does like the Killers and the Magic Dragons videos. Michael Berkland has brought 7 movies to Sundance and has been in the industry for 30 years. So let me just say that. I didn't just go out and like, hey, I'm going to make a movie, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I got professionals. However, the way that we made it, maybe they would be like, I don't know if this is up to snuff or whatever, but it's a true documentary. Think the camera falls over, we let it fall over, and we let it roll, right? We let things run, because what we wanted, like, let me take 2 steps back. The reason we want to lead with humanity is because it's not what we say, it's how we say it. Maya Angelou once said, she said, people will forget what you said, and they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how they made you feel. So Brittany Kaiser was pregnant with Orion, who is now on this earth, which is beautiful, while we interviewed her. Matt McGivens, her partner, looks into the camera and speaks to Orion into the future. You can never unpregnant. I mean, you can't go back and have another pregnant Brittany. As a matter of fact, when I call her, she's like, Jeff, you better get here, bro, because I'm not going to do any more interviews, and this baby's going to come, and I'm off limits. Jin Yu. You guys want to know who Jin Yu is? God rest his soul. He passed away a month or so ago from COVID. He was considered one of the godfathers of NFTs. He did Edward Snowden's NFT. He had the largest Clubhouse group, and we got him in the interview, and he's so beautiful and so gracious. In Clubhouse, you don't see their faces. In the movie, you'll be able to see his face. His legs up on the couch, he's relaxed. He's talking about what NFTs aren't, right? He's just very cool. So we have somebody who stutters, and we have different color people, and we have different, genders. I think it's so important because as people sit there, they're going to wait till their archetype shows up, and then they're going to go, now I'm going to listen. I feel something from that person, right? That to me is the most important part, because we could be sitting here right now talking so many wonderful things, but if someone doesn't care and they don't think you care about them, they're not going to listen.
I think there's a light switch in this industry for everyone, and it's just a matter of time before that light switch flips on for the vast majority of the populace.
Yeah. There's also a lot of baked-in diversity, I think, in NFT and crypto, right? But showing up at an event like this, I wasn't even really thinking about it, but somebody pointed it out to me. Like we were at a party last night. holders of all these, fun NFT collections. It's like, you know why I'm here? I'm here because, look at this person and this person, they're all different. They're all different people, Very interesting to see how, whatever the spirit is, it doesn't, like you said, it brings together a lot of different people who have a common connection, which is fun.
And it's just scratching the surface. It's not, we see it all the time because we're living and breathing NFTs, but the vast majority of the world is not connected to NFTs in any meaningful way.
Let me ask you guys a question, if I may, since I've done a whole bunch of interviews, right?
Go for it.
So, January, February of this next year, where are you guys going to be? In the next 3 months, what's your future for Edge of NFT?
We're cooking up quite a lot, and the future is quite bright for us. We are in the midst of launching our first NFT project called Living Tree NFTs, and this is art that Eathan's been working on for quite a long time, and we're really excited to have our own in-house artist, creator, and the goal of these trees is to support the ecosystem, to fertilize and to grow everyone in it. So the trees will have all sorts of access and benefits that are still evolving. So
Some really cool things about this particular project. The word co-creation just emerged, organically as part of our ethos from the very start. And it's just worked so well to define what we're doing and explain what we're doing in all these cases. So we see it manifesting in just how we act, but as we say it, it's a great way to communicate what we're all about. And I think, the NFT collection that we're releasing with Living Tree NFT, it's going to support that. So when we say co-creation, it's not just us three co-creating. It's all the people that are listening, that are paying attention, that are on social.
that have been on our show.
Yeah.
And we're seeding that with a very special collaboration with Nicole Buffett, very amazing and humble artist. She has a project called Spirit Coins, and it's really to tell the story of art being a new form of currency, or being recognized for the currency that it has always been, right? And so we're doing a limited edition here, starting here, of 100 spirit seeds, where those will provide VIP access to our upcoming conference in Q1, which we'll be announcing soon, as well as to our NFT Living Trees. And you have a chance to offset your carbon for a year, which is pretty cool, because we all have a carbon footprint, whether it's lighter or heavier, it's there. And then last, but not least, you have a 1 in 10 chance of earning one of Nicole's amazing spirit tokens, or spirit coins, which are currently have around a 3-4 each floor. So it's a project that innately gives back, hopefully more than your average project, and it has a lot of long-term utility. Because as we grow, you never know where these living trees will go. As more folks get on the show and want to collaborate, these trees are a manifestation of our ecosystem.
We strongly considered even forming a DAO and drive how we manage the podcast and everything we do around content. There are a lot of ins and outs to that, but similar to what we're talking about now, a DAO would involve that community in driving how we evolve over time, and that's exactly what we want our NFT holders to do. To talk with us and work with us around guests, around questions, around format, around how we evolve, other topics that we cover above and beyond NFTs. So that's the.
I think it's smart. Honestly, guys, I feel like we're in the same family, because when you look back, like, you guys have had the benefit of interviewing a whole bunch of people, and I'll use us as an example. If you go to NFTthemovie.com, you really won't see anything. You see a logo, you see a mission statement, and a little form that says, "Hey, you want to be in the movie." And many people are like, "Dude, you could be crushing it right now selling NFTs." And every interview I did, I stepped back further and further and further. Not because I was afraid, because I got more and more perspective, right? And then when I was ready, I'm like, okay, so we have our own production. people in-house, right? We're here in New York looking for more people to take care of this production because we do NFT movie posters, NFT trailers, all those are NFTs, and actually even NFT advertising spots within the movie, right? So we have to have somebody produce those. But instead of being a media company or a film company, we are an NFT company, right? So what I love about what you guys are doing is it's not just like I'm just going to interview people until I'm tired of interviewing and I never want to speak to another soul, and you're actually doing something internally with everything that you've been learning. How amazing is that?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely co-creating, and a lot of folks have come to us for help on some pretty incredible projects, and we always are down to give people feedback and ideas, recognizing that it's okay in this industry to say I don't know, because we're all learning as we go. But we are sort of in the process of forming our own creator studio as well, which will give a segment of projects that we're really pumped about an opportunity to have a home where we can nurture them and support them from the jump. So that's part of the mix as well.
So smart. We're doing the same thing. You guys probably have read these books, but Multiple Streams of Income, or 1 Minute Millionaire with Robert Allen, and also he's co-authored with Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul. But we're now bringing on like authors, not just musicians, technologists, and filmmakers. We're bringing on these people who have had a career of 30 years of multiple New York Times bestsellers, and they have all of these. They're like, now what do I do? I'm like, guess what? You get to live on, and your words are going to live on, and your kids are going to be remunerated for the things you do. Because right now, the only way they're getting a check is from the publisher if they buy a book. And so there's a whole new world for these people who have had this amazing content. Can you imagine if Napoleon Hill was alive today and we had Think and Grow Rich as an NFT and the impact? That was the first book I ever read when I was 13. The first book I fully finished because I had such ADD. I couldn't finish books, but that book spoke to me. And it said, you don't have to fit inside that box. You can run your own little business. Do your own little thing. Those are the people that I want to have come out and use the utility that you guys have within your organization and tell their message, like the Gary V's or Tony Robbins or whatever the case is, that gets people up and changes society, regardless if it's an NFT or not. It just happens to be a distribution of the message.
I think in particular for Jeff and I, we were business partners before this, and we co-founded a company called Territory Foods. At the core of Territory Foods was co-creation. We were, I believe, one of the first prepared meal companies to put the chef on the label with our brand and co-brand the meals that these chefs created. We didn't have to do that. The normal approach there is to centralize production. And you don't know who's cooking your food. But we just felt like there was a greater connectivity between the consumer enjoying the meal and our brand if they knew who made the food. And so this idea of co-creation, it's been in our DNA for over a decade. And so what NFTs provide is the fluidity to make that easier. We're trying to do that. That's why we're partnered with Nicole Buffett. And so we're having this conversation. I'm sure we'll keep this dialogue going and figure out other ways to co-create after today. So really
Can I make
not
a suggestion?
Yeah.
It just came to me, bro. We need to co-create together. See, what happens is sometimes because we're sitting on the other side of the table, I need to be sitting right next to you guys. You know what? Metaphorically speaking. So let's co-create something together. Can you imagine that? We're talking about two atom bombs coming together and completely, making a fun mess.
Yeah. And we have it live. We have it on tape, so we can look back at this moment and remember it.
That's it.
You guys are so awesome. May I just say before we go, I don't know if you're about to wrap this up, that it was like a last minute thing. You guys, hey, why don't you come up and do the interview? This culture is so giving. There's no, hey, come on. When you go on the street, no offense, I think it's a great ploy. You have people hand you beaded jewelry, and if you hold it, you buy it, right? There's some sort of transaction. It's rare that I see somebody who's transacting in our community. years ago I saw it, but now people just give. It gives me that energy to give to somebody else. So I want to thank you guys for spending time with me, and I'm gonna pay it forward and spend some time with some people today, and just grab them and go, hey, let's talk.
Right.
So thank you for inspiring.
Thank you, man. It's great to have you.
Yeah.
Our pleasure, man.
And I cannot wait to see the movie.
Yeah, you guys gotta come to the premiere. It's gonna be insane. There's parts of it where you'll cry. You will. There's parts of it that you'll laugh. But I think what the overall feeling will be is, are these humans? Like, do they live on our planet? Like, do they live subterranean? Because there's so many diverse things going on. It's hard to even, if you come from the outside world, it's hard to associate that gap, right?
Yeah.
So luckily with Edge of NFT, you guys are filling some of that gap.
And we're excited to be chatting with Robbie Heeger from Endaoment today. Robbie,
Hey.
what's going on, man?
Oh man, it's good to be back in New York City. I live in San Francisco, and the energy here is always insatiable. And bonus that I get to be here for a crypto event, and just enjoying myself and enjoying meeting all these new faces and new projects in the space.
Let's talk about something fun. I think, if you don't mind sharing, we heard it in the elevator, right? You gave a talk. Was that you that said you gave a talk, and right afterwards somebody else stepped on stage we might have recognized? What was that?
Yeah, so we were doing a panel on the future of NFTs and creator and giving economies, and it went really great. It ran over a little bit. We had this phenomenal conversation. We were all hyped up coming off the stage, and we come off the stage, and I basically bump into Quentin Tarantino. And, so cool. And I look at him and I'm like, what are you doing here? And it turns out that he's doing an NFT project, which is great. And so, we're really seeing this moment with NFTs where the broader cultural zeitgeist can really chew on what an NFT is. And that's really fun for us at Endaoment, because now we get to play with how we fold that into giving.
Well, what is an Endaoment? Let's start there.
Sure. Endaoment is a nonprofit. We're a community foundation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with community foundations, but community foundations are basically nonprofits that serve a community. And there's one for, the Cleveland inner city, and there's one for the St. Petersburg, Florida Jewish community, and there's one for the Los Angeles Christian community. They tend to coalesce around religious communities or academic communities. There are all sorts of kinds of
Is
community
NFT a religion? That's the real question here.
we could make the argument. We could certainly make the argument. But we're a community foundation for the crypto community. That's really what we're trying to do, is we are the philanthropic institution for the crypto community. So we build software and services that provide frictionless on-chain decentralized giving. And over the past year, a huge percentage of our fundraised dollars have come from NFT sales, namely the X times Y equals K Uniswap trailer video that People Pleaser created, as well as the Art Blocks Chromie Squiggles has a royalty split with a donor advised fund on Endaoment. We even participated in the Ethereum, the Infinite Garden movie fundraiser. 2% of the fundraiser for the Infinite Garden movie about the Ethereum virtual machine went to carbonfund.org through Endaoment. And so those were sold as NFT movie posters, and then a chunk of that NFT went and came to Endaoment, and we liquidate it for dollars and move it to nonprofit organizations.
Well, my friend, we have quite a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We like gardening too. We've been cooking up this really killer Living Tree NFT project. We've had the opportunity to interview over 60 leaders in the space, and we want to sort of co-create a future where these interviews and our past guests are sort of built into an NFT project that gives back to the community.
Sweet. Say more about that.
Well,
what do you want to give to? How are you figuring that out?
Yeah, we've got two arms of it right now. Arms, branches, roots, however you want to call it, seeds. There's a lot of themes around growth and building relationships and things like this. We have a 100-member Spirit Seed collection, which is kind of more of like a private, planted underground kind of thing going on. Everyone who mints one of those will offset their carbon or offset the average carbon consumption of an American for 1 year.
Wow.
That's really exciting. And then on top of that, it's got all kinds of utility benefits. We're partnering with Nicole Buffett, who's a top 50 NFT influencer, and people will have a 10% chance of receiving one of her Spirit Coin NFTs, which are quite valuable as well. And then, we're baking in all these ways. We've already been giving to the community in all these really cool ways through like giveaways and raffles, and we gave away a Picasso lithograph, for example, just like, oh hey, like, that's really cool, in partnering with EcoFi, one of our guests. So, we just plan to give utility on and on for the holders of these, and make them, and also give them a voice in what we're doing. The Living Tree Project, which is the next level of things, which is coming very soon, is one where we'll plant 25 trees for every NFT that's minted in that collection, and then 2.5% of the proceeds of every trade will go back to plant more trees. So we're doing a lot of environmental stuff at the moment, and building relationships and growing.
Yeah, you probably know the team at Carbon Base too, John and Max.
I've heard of Carbon Base. I've never met them before, but
Well, we'll connect you to those guys. I think they would love what you're doing. They're doing some really incredible stuff. They've worked with World Wildlife Foundation. They've been helping us with our project. I think the social impact potential of NFTs is in the blockchain is really incredible. It's got to be executed right. And I guess there's this question I have for you. Gary Vee earlier today talked about the fact that, look, let's face it, this is not an industry, of 100% benevolence. There's 90% of the people in there here to make money.
right.
You're doing something with a true social impact. What's your take on why people get involved in crypto, and how social impact should fit into the mix, and actually how does it fit into the mix?
Yeah, I think the mistake would be to classify crypto as one thing versus another. So many things are true about crypto at the same time. It is both an absolute gold rush, and it is also transformational technology for how humans collaborate on planet Earth. And those two things can be true at the same time, and have been true at the same time in the past as well. And what that means is that there's room for everybody to come in and contribute, right? Because there's this whole spectrum of opportunity that says, okay, bring us your passion, bring us your interests, and apply this technology to it. And if you do that, you're gonna discover something new, and you're gonna have a new kind of relationship with the people who you're interacting with, whether that's through art or through music or through financial primitives like lending and derivatives, So there's I think part of the reason why you're seeing like firms like Andreessen perform really well is in the crypto space, is because they really believe they have this sort of like software eats the world thing, where everybody is vulnerable to having some disruption being brought upon them by crypto technology. And that's true for this space as well. And so, for me personally, I had spent a lot of time in a very profit-focused environment, and was looking for a project that would allow me to kind of change focus for a little bit. And I think, especially as the crypto market continues to grow into the multi-trillions of dollars, we have a rare opportunity and obligation to ask ourselves, what infrastructure are we going to have for giving back from the very beginning, right? A lot of times, giving back can be an afterthought, something you do at the end of the year, something that you do when you have X dollars above what you need to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. And we think what's exciting about both the NFT space and the crypto space in general is that we can start to engage with these topics early and often, and do so in a way that like leverages crypto infrastructure to show people the value of this behavior in a way that makes sense to them as somebody who's interested in crypto, right? In all of the previous iterations of web development, we've seen that the companies that come at this from principles first approach, speaking to the demographic that is using the new technology, whether that be social media or web pages and Web 2.0 and 1.0 before it, the companies that come in build from crypto first principles, who build in a decentralized fashion, who look to embody the values of the broader industry are going to succeed. And so we're trying to do that with this set of services that is, a full-featured community foundation.
Right on.
So for a large, for-profit crypto project, an NFT project that's launching, they're just getting going, how would they collaborate with you to help realize some of those goals?
Sure. The easiest way, especially in the NFT space, is to set your splits to endow.eth. We will get in touch with you. If you set your splits to endow.eth, we're going to come find you and be like, where do you want to give this to? And it's a sort of like effortless platform agnostic way to take some amount of your royalties or your mint costs and turn them into impact. But for the larger projects, we're in communication with the Art Blocks team, with Foundation, with we have a platform, we have a profile on OpenSea, and are sort of adopting all of the different NFT platforms that we possibly can. We did some work with Block Party, where we've got friends over at the Palm Studio. There's like, everybody needs that sort of service provider that says, hey, I have an artist that wants to do something that has some impact equation as a part of it, and in order to execute that, they want to offload the operations of getting the cash into the hands of the nonprofit. And what we provide is a platform that speaks to the values of those developers, right? Because we operate our entire program on chain, right? If a developer of one of these projects is looking at solution A that exists off-chain versus solution B that exists on-chain, 9 times out of 10 they're going to select solution B. Because it makes it easier for it to integrate with their existing contracts, and it makes it feel more in line with why they're in the space in the first place. And to us, that's what matters, and we're finding that that's what matters to our partners as well.
Yeah, having a real give-back partner that can help in the execution, right, of that entire system is key. We've run into it before, where it's in our DNA. We know we want to give back, but there's no easy button to make that happen.
Right.
You guys present that for a lot of these projects.
Right. Right now, what we do is we create escrow contracts for every 501c3 that receives a grant through our platform. And really what that means is that we are taking our first steps towards a global Rolodex of verified Ethereum addresses for nonprofits. And we've also seen the Giving Block doing really great work on this front as well. But we're hell bent on getting to a place where those organization contracts are fully composable and have rich metadata on chain available to developers to basically come in and say, I'm just going to look at the endowment Rolodex of nonprofits and give my users the option to pick from any of these end Ethereum addresses to split with in the NFT space. And to us, that is the fully composable philanthropic institution is a huge piece of infrastructure for the NFT space, for the DeFi space, for the world writ large. And so anything that we can do that moves us closer to that goal, like that's where we're headed.
So I mean, thinking about that, and that you're solving is such a huge pain point. Our friends did a project, and we heard about the struggles to do what you just described. But let's look at nonprofits that are super curious about NFTs, but super intimidated by them and what their board will think of it, what their donors will think of it. are you also foreseeing yourself directly assisting nonprofits with doing their own NFT projects? And in like, I've always wondered why couldn't a nonprofit take a small percentage of their funds and potentially put it into a lower risk DeFi component, where they're not dealing with the deflationary pressure of the dollar any more than we all are. Why do nonprofits have to suffer, right?
Right. I think this is a complex situation that nonprofits find themselves in, and historically, nonprofits have struggled to adopt new technology, right? And there are entire organizations whose sole purpose is to basically bring technologies that were adopted by the for-profit world a decade ago to the nonprofit world because it's just not their priority. The priority is their program.
And they're keeping the lights on sometimes.
Right, keeping the lights on, like the idea of putting in a bunch of time, money, effort into new vendors or new technology is certainly intimidating, if not a pain in the butt. And for just accepting a crypto gift, we talk to organizations all the time that have donors approaching them who say, I have all this Bitcoin, will you please take this Bitcoin? And, or I have all this Ethereum, or insert token here. And the organization basically kind of throws its hands up in the air and says, I don't really know what to do with that. And the way we think about endowment is as the gateway into them getting more educated about what crypto can offer. Concept that I'm talking about all the time is the stairway to crypto heaven is what I call it. And it's like how deep down the the other way that we talk about it a lot in crypto is, like how deep down the rabbit hole have you gone, right? Like, there's sort of step 0 where it's like, you've played with a stable coin, right? And then there's step 1 where it's like you've used a centralized exchange, right? And then there's step 2, which is you've used a self-custodied wallet, and maybe you've minted some stuff, you've interacted with the chain yourself personally, right? And then there's step 3 where it's like, I'm in DAOs, and I do this, and I do that, and I do all these different things. I do PFPs, I'm contributing to this, and I'm contributing to that. And I think orgs writ large, organizations, nonprofit organizations, are at step 0 or earlier, right? Either no knowledge or like, okay, I think I'm okay with the stable coin, and I'll take that. And there are people at level 1 and level 2 and level 3 who will help organizations understand the implications and provide services to them, right? The giving block will be that level 1 for an organization where it's like, we'll help you manage all of your exchange accounts and help you process, right? And for level 2, there's like, you can go and get a Coinbase institutional account. That's great and wonderful. Okay. But like when it comes to going full bore crypto, it's really hard for these organizations to get their board to understand what's at stake. And unless you have a board member who knows the crypto space inside and out and like has their own investments and is like, oh yeah, I'll self-custody a wallet for this organization, no problem. That's really the only people that we've really seen taking like the full crypto plunge. But what's fantastic about what we're doing at Endaoment is we are this sort of first point of contact where it's like, you don't need to do anything special. Come to us with just your existing bank account. And the next time somebody says to you, I want to give you crypto, whatever you do, don't say no. Like, say yes, you can do it. Just send them to Endaoment, and we'll handle the payment processing, the donation processing, the tax receipting, the management of the asset itself, the grant making from our organization to the organization that you wanted to, and then making sure that the organization is getting it as dollars into their bank account. Because really what they want and what they mostly have to do, most of them do not have investment policies around how to handle crypto. And they don't want to go to their board and ask about that, because then they have to come up with this whole plan about what they want to do for crypto. So we say, don't do anything different. Just come to us with your bank account, accept a few grants, and then when you're ready, let's start talking about how we go to that level 1, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of walking here before running. Got it.
Yeah,
And
it's easy to
nonprofits
forget.
traditionally they have to spend money. Like that's what they're in the business of doing.
Right.
So having it in a liquid form, and they're, a typical nonprofit is not spending it on sort of these advanced technologies where, cryptocurrencies are commonly exchanged. They're going to probably want it in fiat.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
And having said that, though, like having sufficiently hedged against the reality, let me say that I can't wait to build farmable donor advised funds that pay out to organization contracts that give an organization the option of putting it into a money market at Rari where they're earning 20% on their dollars, and like we can say like, hey, keep your assets here, this is really interesting, like there's something interesting going on here. The question is, who's ready for that? And how big, how many organizations is that population? And what we're learning through the experiences that we're having with the 300 plus organizations that we've spoken to in the last year is that they really need dollars. They're going through the hardest economic period of their organization's history because none of them are making program revenue unless they are sort of COVID exempt. And that what they really want is exposure to the donor cohort and to the new wealth that's being created without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. And so here, enter Endaoment, where all you need is a bank account, and you can tell any donor that you can give any crypto to any organization in the United States.
Yeah, it's a game changer for that whole ecosystem.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun because you get on the phone with these organizations, especially when they don't know the money's coming. That's when it's the most fun. So we just did with Fortune magazine and People Pleaser, they did the Crypto versus Wall Street NFT cover. They took half the proceeds of that sale, of the $1.4 million sale, took $700-ish thousand of it and gave it to Endaoment. And we opened a community fund for journalism organizations. Anybody can go to the Fortune Journalism Pleaser Fund and give to journalism causes after the fact. Now it's not closed now that we did the first $700,000, but with that first $700,000, Fortune picked 4 different organizations that were going to receive the grants. And the most fun phone calls that I get to do as an entrepreneur are to the organizations when they have no idea what endowment is, they have no idea what crypto is, and they've just received a 6-figure check. And we had to chase down this one organization. I went on LinkedIn and I pinged everybody at the organization because they all thought it was a scam. They thought we were scamming them. And so they were like, this can't be real, this is crypto, like there's no way we're getting $160,000 right now. And it took us pulling up their 990, getting on the phone with their executive director and being like, hi, this is real. And once they started to learn about endowment, and once we were able to sort of share with them our status and legitimacy, they were like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever, and now the light bulb goes on and they're like, okay, like we're comfortable with this. And so I would say, coming back to that question about like what are orgs up for, right? Like orgs are sort of a herd mentality creature, right? They want to know that other orgs are using the service before they sign up for the service, right? And so we're doing a lot of heavy lifting at Endaoment right now to kind of get over that hump of like nobody knows who you are, you're brand new, you just posted your first tax report, the organizations are a little more risk averse in a space that is historically super risk on.
Well, we're called the Edge of NFTs. So when you share this with them, some of them are gonna like it, some of them are like, whoa, this is way too edgy.
Yeah. But the fact is you get a few that are really bought in, that are respected by their peers or looked to for the next thing to do. Right. And you move them a couple steps, level 1, level 2, level 3, and that social proof there will help for sure. So.
Yeah, and we're also seeing donors playing a huge role in helping organizations feel more comfortable about it, right? Like donors, both pooled donors and individual donors, have been onboarding new organizations into Endaoment. We have the Rari Capital Foundation. Rari Capital Foundation was seeded by an initial gift from the Rari team, and their DAO suggests and votes on what organization receives a little chunk of that community foundation balance every month. And, you know, they chose the NAACP the other month. And the NAACP has never accepted a crypto gift before. And they got $5,000 from the Rari Capital Foundation. It was their first crypto gift, and it was voted on by a subset of token holders through Snapshot, right? Like, that gap crossing was unfathomable to a lot of nonprofits just not so long ago. And with Art Blocks, we've been working with Snowfro, and Snowfro has been committing parts of the Chromie Squiggles, the royalties from that, to a fund that he controls at Endaoment. And he's made it public to his community, and he's just going bananas on the arts organizations in Houston, Texas. And we've been on the phone with maybe 35 organizations in Houston over the last month and a half. And now all the organizations in Houston are starting to talk to each other about the fact that these grants are coming in and that they're coming in from crypto. And they're all starting to sort of talk to each other. They're like, wait a minute, there's this thing called Endaoment where I'm getting these grants from, and I didn't have to do anything. And it came from this NFT thing. And I think that, to the nonprofit community, is that aha moment that we've all been waiting for people to see how this very meta cultural activity can translate into kids in your local community learning how to paint, or having their first experience with music, or, you know, a food bank feeding 1,000 families, right? And like, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this isn't just the metaverse anymore. And that's something that we deeply, deeply need in the crypto community, and we're here to provide.
I hope you take a note from Publishers Clearinghouse and do something with those first encounters, because I think those first encounters are moments in time that stand for something. The work that you're doing is really incredible, man. How can people stay in touch with you, learn more about Endaoment?
Sure.
Maybe contribute or include you guys in a project.
We are actively seeking NFT projects that are looking to do splits with charity or 100% to charity. So if you're working on an NFT project and you want to do some charity component, let us take the burden of getting it into the hands of the organization off of your hands. And you know, the easiest way to come and let us know about that is our whole team lives in Discord. We're a team of about 5 now, with a few volunteers here and there. So if you're interested in volunteering and helping out with Endaoment, all of that happens through Discord. Our team is full-time in Discord. It's discord.gg/Endaoment, spelled DAO, not DOW. And follow us on Twitter at endowment.org.
Awesome, man.
Well, we hope you have a fun time at the rest of the convention, and maybe you'll run into a few other Hollywood celebrities. You know, we'll see what happens.
Yes. We love what you're doing, man. It's great hearing about it.
Thank you. I'm hoping to have, like, you know, an Uma Thurman sighting
There you
next,
go.
maybe. You know, we'll just start crossing off the Tarantino cast list. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you guys so much for having me on, and I love what you guys are doing, and we're big fans of the show at Endaoment. So
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
keep on
Thank you.
keeping on.
Thanks,
All
man.
right. Cool. Well, that's a wrap, fellas. Amazing stuff.
Cool. Thank you.
There it is.